Hello fragrance family, welcome to Fragrance Therapy. I'm your host Alan. Now I talk about tons of fragrances on this channel. Like it or not, a lot of time it's based on what's trending and what y'all are looking to hear about. But me personally, I smell way more fragrances than I'm able to cover. But because of that, even though it's not by design, I end up gatekeeping a bunch of them. So today, let's break down those gates. I'm going to put you on 10 affordable fragrances that will have you smelling like no one else. So let's start with a brand that doesn't get much play online, and that's Dot Janan Vanilla. And this is a sophisticated, warm, spicy, slightly smoky vanilla fragrance. Now, first of all, I think it's awesome that Dot, this entire Janan line, they sell these 1 ml bottles. So you can essentially test it out before buying the full presentation. But anyway, what this thing does, it moves away from that typical cupcakey type of sweetness that most vanilla fragrances are associated with. And instead you get this more masculine, refined scent profile. And I'm also not sure if this is a dupe of anything. It must be because almost everything else in the Dot's Janan line is. But I have no idea because nothing else that I own smells like this. So if it is in fact a dupe, I don't know what it's duping. In addition to the vanilla, it's warm, it's spicy, it has some resins, but it balances that creamy sweetness with some deep masculine undertones. You get things like chestnut, gives it this rich, nutty, and slightly roasted opening. You also get some black pepper, orris, and the namesake vanilla in here. It's that spiciness that's paired with some powdery iris and that smooth vanilla. But in the base, you also get some deep masculine notes like this smoky resin and this soft leathery touch with suede that's not animalic at all. When it comes to performance and longevity, you're gonna get about 7, maybe 8 hours if you push it a little bit with some overspraying. Projection is good, projects well for the first hour and a half, 2 hours. Overall, a decent performer, but not anything that is exceptional. Now, if you're sick of these overly sweet gourmand style vanillas and want something a bit more masculine, give this thing a shot. Dot's Janan line has some really good affordable stuff. They do tend to fly under the radar because they're not a house coming out of the Middle East. Instead, they're based out of Pakistan. Even more reason that you can start gatekeeping them now. Next up, I have a release that I believe came out sometime in 2024. I didn't pick it up until like summer of last year, and that's Paris Corner's Amouage Summer Oud. And this thing is inspired by Kilian's Blue Moon Ginger Dash. Now, I believe that fragrance is discontinued, so this is a very, very good alternative. Definitely captures that fizzy, zesty vibe of that famous ginger and lime cocktail, mostly focusing on this icy, zingy vibe, with only a touch of booziness, not nearly as boozy as the name might imply. Primarily, this is an aromatic citrus scent. It is definitely effervescent, it's sharp, and gives off this clean on the rocks feel. In the opening, you get tons of citruses and ginger. I always say ginger and citrus together is like a cheat code for like fresh fragrances. In the mid, you get mint and a bunch of herbaceous notes. And I think that like herby, minty mid keeps it feeling green and crisp rather than like overly sweet. In the base, you get some ozonic notes, some moss and amber. Dry down, it's clean and airy thanks to those ozonic accords. Longevity is pretty good for fresh. You can get a solid 6.5 to 7 hours on skin. Strong projection for that first hour though. Now this thing can be like your high heat staple. Really thrives in the summer, late spring, very, very early fall. Excellent for like casual daily wear, a gym scent, outdoor events in the high heat. I think you can also use it as an office scent. Leaves you just smelling clean and fresh. Whenever you have like a lemon or citrus heavy fragrance, there's always that fear that it could come off as like a cheap lemon cleaner scent. But I'm happy to say this thing is super easy wear, doesn't come off like that at all. If you want something energizing, you want something really fresh for the warmer weather, get this now. Thank me in the summer. Next up, we have Ahmed Maghribi's Kaaf Noir. And apparently this is a clone of Dolce & Gabbana's KEDP. I do think there's some similarities to that fragrance, but I think a lot of Ahmed Maghribi's stuff, it is inspired by it, but then it takes it in its own direction. This thing is a magnetic, citrusy, woody scent. It opens with this bright, spicy citrus kick, then it transitions into a more clean, aromatic heart. But in the base, you do get some woodiness as well. Now, I might lose you when I say this, but this thing reminds me, you know when you were a kid, there was those fruit-scented markers? This one reminds me, in the opening especially, if you combine the orange and lemon one, and surprisingly, I'm not saying that in a negative way, all kids love sniffing those things. Along with those fruits here, you get this distinct, like almost like sharp marker undertone. I know it sounds weird, but trust me, it's something that I at least enjoy. But anyway, as it dries down, you get more soapy freshness. It's clean, it's aromatic. And then that woody base does help it kind of balance out. Performance-wise, this is an excellent performer for a freshie. You're getting a solid 8 hours. That's kind of Ahmed al-Maghribi's MO. You also get good projection for the first hour, hour and a half. The OG Kaaf was so beloved. I don't know why they didn't push this one more. It kind of came and went and nobody noticed. Next up, we have Nosuk's Fawa Midnight, and this is inspired by Parfums de Marly's Ojan. Now, the original Ojan is known as this rich, warm apple pie gourmand style fragrance, and that's kind of where it lives. It's sweet, it's ambery, it's gourmand. While this does keep some of those gourmand aspects, you still get a heavy dose of cinnamon, honey, some resinous sweetness. But what this does, it makes it more masculine. It balances all those sweet gourmands with this strong, masculine, smoky leather and woody undertone. You get burnt sugar, cardamom, tons of sweetness that's not overly syrupy in the opening. But then you get those deeper, darker notes like incense, woods, leather, suede, some cacao and patchouli as well. Performance is a solid 8 hours of longevity. Strong initial projection for the first couple of hours. This thing is perfect for a date night because it combines those sweet, inviting gourmands with this strong masculine confidence. Of course, it's still best for the cooler weather. This, to me, is they took that OG and they actually improved on it. It doesn't happen often, but I think this is one of those fragrances that I prefer the dupe over the original. Next up, we have Gulf Orchid's Yacht Club, and this is inspired by Xerjoff's 40 Knots. Now, when you hear Yacht Club or 40 Knots, what comes to mind, at least it did for me, like fresh aquatic summer fragrance. And while this thing does have some of those aspects, it's also deeper, richer, and darker because you also get this honey and incense note in here that gives it more body and depth. Citrus is on top, but along with that honey, you get additional like sweetness with vanilla. And along with that incense, you get some additional deep, darker notes with leather. Performance, another one that's really good. 8 hours of longevity, good projection for the first couple of hours. This thing opens super fresh and clean. It kind of reminds you of being out on a yacht on like a warm summer day. But as it dries down, it becomes more rich, more complex. It goes from like sitting on a yacht to actually owning the yacht. This thing is definitely my favorite Gulf Orchid fragrance in my entire collection. Next up, we have Arabiyat Prestige's Lutfa Beyond Forever. And a lot of the fragrances that look like this, they're awesome. They're very popular. This one kind of flies under the radar. This one is inspired by Gissa's Akoya. Never smelled the OG, so I can't compare it to that. But judging this fragrance on its own, it smells amazing. This thing opens with super juicy fruits. As it dries, you get this wonderful rose note. I also smell some gourmand, some creaminess in here, though it's not listed in the notes. There's also this strong leather undertone in this as it dries. Comes off kind of like a cross between Azar's Forever Wanted Elixir, Tony Iommi's Deified. This is one of my newest bottles. Performance is good, but it's not great. I got 7-ish hours of longevity. Good projection for the first hour or so. Might be one that I might need to retest after a couple months to see how it does with some maturation. But besides that, no other complaints. This thing is a really good addition to this lineup. Next up, we have Amaran Kafu. And I had been looking for a good dupe of Chanel Allure Homme Edition Blanche. I had never heard of this house or the scent until Curly Scents. I was watching a video by Curly Scents and she talked about it. Thankfully, I caught that video and I was able to pick it up. And this thing is really incredible. This scent profile is often compared to like a lemon meringue pie. The reason is because you get this tart, citrusy lemon and bergamot, but then it doses it up with vanilla. Along with those citruses and vanilla, you also get some creamy sandalwood, some tonka bean. You also get vetiver, cedar, and some ambers in here. That base gives it some creamy sweetness and woody depth. Look, when I first got this one, the lemon in here kind of overpowered the creamy sweet notes. But if you get this, spray it, let it sit for a couple of weeks. The vanilla and ambers and tonka really develop nicely. When you compare it to side by side, say with something like Eros Energy, which is a citrus bomb, then you definitely start picking up on those creamy aspects of this fragrance. Good performance from a freshie. You get 7 hours easily. The OG is a horrible performer as well. 5 hours max, so this is actually a step up. Get this now, let it mature. It's going to be incredible for the warmer months. Next up, we have Anarchy's No Pain, No Gain. Now look, a lot of times the big Middle Eastern fragrance companies dominate the YouTube space, but sometimes smaller fragrance companies make something that is undeniable. That's exactly the case that you get with LR Luxury's Anarchy No Pain No Gain. Now LR Luxury is probably better known for their King of Kings line, and that line has a lot of good fragrances, but this Anarchy line is right up there with it. Think of a more grown-up version of something like Stronger With You. This thing has more depth, it's incredibly blended, it has this darker niche quality edge to it. I believe this thing takes that Stronger With You Parfum DNA and mixes it with Terry Mugler's Amen. I think it was a pure Havana. You definitely get that chestnut and sweetness that the Stronger With You line is known for, but you also get this hint of very dark chocolate, aromatic lavender and sage, and you also get this leather and agarwood in here that gives it some depth and heft. This thing might be the strongest performer in this entire list. You easily get 10 hours of longevity, strong projection for multiple hours. I typically don't like fragrances that use chocolate heavily, but in here it's used perfectly, it's not overpowering, and that dark chocolate blends really well with the oud and leather. Then you mix that with vanilla and chestnut. What you get is this excellent fall and winter fragrance. Avoid in the high heat because it can be cloying. Perfect for date nights, evening events. You can dress this thing up. Now look, LR Luxury stuff is a little bit more expensive. It typically goes around anywhere between $60 and $80. But everything that I've tried from this line and the King of King lines is monster performers. Few sprays will go a long way. The next two I would say are not blind buy safe. However, if you are looking for statement makers that truly have you stand out and not smell like anybody else, I got you. So next up we have Ahmed Maghribi's Summer Oud. So if Ignite Oud, a very popular fragrance from that house, is a beast mode winter oud fragrance, this one is a lighter, more relaxed younger brother to that scent profile. But with that being said, it's still not maybe as light as the name might suggest. Definitely more wearable in the warmer months, but still packs a decent punch. The scent profile is complex. It's a mashup of citruses, florals mixed with these spicy, leathery, and woody elements. Along with those citruses, you get some spices like saffron, you get some incense in here. This amazing jammy rose with some ambers and some woods. And in the base, you of course get that oud and leather. It's strong, it's a masculine base, but neither the oud nor leather is overly animalic. It's very smooth. Another very strong performer. 8 to 9 hours, strong projection for many hours. This might be a summer fragrance for those who live in the Middle East. For folks in the West, I would say this is more like a spring fall fragrance. Something that's perfect for the transitional weather. Maybe you could pull it off on like cool summer evenings. Now, I don't want that the leather, that incense to scare you. This is an incredibly easy to wear oud fragrance. Smells way more expensive than that $45 price tag. And finally, we have Arabiyat Prestige's Ramad Myrr. And this is inspired by Ormond James Bond tobacco. I have never smelt the OG, so I'm judging this on its own. Now look, Ramad Oriental got all the hype, and for good reason. I think it's still one of the closest clones of Amouage Outlands out there, but this one deserved more love. This comes off as a sophisticated woody scent with this crisp, airy quality. It's probably that powdery, musky nature of the cashmere that's in here, but there's also some richness in here because it also includes like high-end tobacco leaves, suede, and some fresh spices. You get citruses, cardamom, pink pepper, that cashmere, some sandalwood and leather as well in the base. I would say performance is good, but it's not great for this scent profile. I was hoping for a little bit more. 7 hours on skin. Strong projection though for the first 2 hours. When you look at notes like ambers, spices, leather, you think cold weather only fragrance. But like I said, this thing has this airy quality that makes it great for a year-round scent. Maybe in the higher heat, save it for the evenings. Otherwise, you can rock it almost year-round. Now, is this going to be for everyone? No, I would not call this blind buy safe. But if you like the sound of a year-round fragrance that won't have you smelling like anyone else and you can still make a statement, this thing is a winner for sure. There you have it, folks. 10 incredible, affordable hidden gems that I'm gatekeeping no more. These are all fragrances that I don't think get a lot of play out there, so I'll have you smelling like nobody else. Let me know in the comments if you've tried any of these, and if you have, which is your favorite. Also, please hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep growing this channel. We just hit 6,000 subs. Thank you so much for all of you who have subscribed. And as always, stay tuned for more honest, affordable fragrance content. Until next time, I'm out.